So how did you get involved with the United States military?
I graduated from USC in 1963, NROTC Scholarship. I went to flight training at Pensacola, was designated a Naval Aviator and Navy helicopter pilot 21 August 1964, with orders to go to Helicopter Anti-Submarine Squadron 2. Went through what they call RAG training, replacement air group training at HS-10 for about 3 or 4 months. And finally joined the squadron in February of 65. And I spent 3 years with that, and then 1 year at Whidbey Island because I got extended. I got out, stayed in the reserves, went to work for United Airlines for 32 years, finished up as a captain in the Naval Reserve.
So what year were you deployed to Vietnam?
First cruise was August of 65, and then from there we went down to South China Sea, Gulf of Tonkin. Picked up a downed air crewman that had bailed out of an Air Force helicopter rescue. And the only reason they got him was the fact that he had a cigarette lighter, which he lit because he was up against the side of the hills. And they saw the light, came in there, picked him up. So all of a sudden, HS-2 was qualified, or the Navy was qualified to do night helicopter rescues. Needless to say, the rest of the crews, I believe we had one other helicopter that was hit. They landed on top of a mountain, and the 4 crew members were all saved. I think the last guy, Mel Howe, wound up halfway up the rescue hoist when they had to get out of there. So he was swinging free and clear for a while, but they all got back to the ship just fine. We conducted search and rescue missions, delivered the mail, and picked up people that were transferred out, and flew plane guard on the carrier. We were on the USS Hornet, CVS-12. In case you're interested, you can go up to Alameda. My particular unit, we were detached and sent to the Forrestal, CVA-59, for about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, while Hornet was in Subic Bay on a normal operation. During that time, several things occurred. Number one, the Forrestal blew up because of an errant missile that went across the belly tank of an A4 on the other side, caused a big fire. John McCain was in the helicopter, in the A4s below, on the starboard side of that. They all got out, but needless to say, there were 130 some odd people killed as a result of the fire and the explosion. If you look at Life magazine, the centerfold of that particular thing in 67 shows a picture of the aft end of the flight deck on the Forrestal with a hole in it. I flew the helicopter that had the photographers that took that picture. I did not fly that day. We had 1 and 7 days off. So I spent that time in the forward wardroom. So we were forced to abandon that and go down to the forward hangar deck, where we assisted a lot of the medical personnel, particularly guys that had been burned and so on and so forth. Following day, took the remains of several of them over to a hospital ship. I don't remember if it was the Repose or what, but needless to say, that was a unique experience. During that particular time in July, we had one group fly and recover a pilot that was down. The Neil, what's his name? I can think of it right now. John Bender and Neil Sparks. He got the Navy Cross for that because they got hit and it knocked out the radios, but they managed to get back to the ship with a pilot. I flew one mission over there over North Vietnam looking for a guy. This was in July. And we did not get them. There were 4 aircraft that were lost at the F-105s. 2 of them they know were killed. The guy that I went in to get was eventually captured as a POW. We did not get shot at either going in or out. My roommate, Dennis Peterson, and his crew member, Lieutenant J.G. Fry, and the 2 air crewmen, they were in a mission to pick up a guy that had been down for a day or so. And eventually they went in there, but the North Vietnamese had set up some additional anti-aircraft sites around where they knew the guy was. And Dennis got shot down and the whole crew was killed.
What was your impression of Vietnam? Did you get to spend any time in the country itself?
Actually, other than flying over portions of North Vietnam, the answer is no. In fact, the carrier was far enough off the coast where I think with one exception, where I saw portions of the very south end of North Vietnam because we took the wrong vector. That was about the extent of my dealings with Vietnam.
What do you think of your overall opinion of the war itself? Do you think we should have gone into Vietnam, or do you have any opinion on the matter?
My opinion on it, based on a lot of the stuff that I heard, and President Johnson at the time, either they gave him the wrong information or he got waylaid on the thing. That attack that went on allegedly on some destroyer apparently was distorted. So they went into this operation of retaliation, if you want to call it that. Overall, it was trying to help South Vietnam, but the way the government was set up and this, that, and the other thing, it was not going to work.
How was your transition back into civilian life? Did you face any adversity coming back from the anti-war movement, or
No.
In the military, was it pretty normal?
No, I was fortunate at Whidbey Island. The airlines in 1968-69 were hiring. I submitted applications to United, American, Delta, and maybe a couple of other ones. The one that responded was United. I went in there for a personal interview, and of course they asked me questions like, "What did you fly? I flew helicopters." And they kind of looked at me like I was lower than you know what. I said, "Yeah, but keep in mind, you got three guys up here: Rabbit Smith, Wayne Willard, and one other guy who were United pilots that got out in '68, '67, who were based there." And I said, "They were all helicopter pilots." "Oh, okay." So I got accepted, got hired. 2 years later, I got furloughed for 6 months, got rehired, and I was furloughed again for 2.5 years, and finally spent the rest of my career with United. Finished up as a 747-400 captain.
Do you see a difference in the way like veterans were treated coming back from Vietnam as compared to how veterans are treated nowadays?
I have to say my experience with veterans was limited to going to the VA hospital in Long Beach to basically register as a veteran and hopefully sign up to get my COVID shots. While I was there, the process was extremely slow. I won't go into that. I had to go back about a week later to ensure they got all the paperwork done. But I was amazed at the number of veterans that came in there on wheelchairs or crutches or they were in a bed where they were wheeling around for something. I had never, ever experienced that before. The veterans that I knew, the guys that got out, for the most part, seemed to get along just fine. They did not experience any of the items that you see or read about in the paper or see. Yeah.
Do you have any more particularly notable experiences you would like to share from Vietnam? In the armed services?
Armed services. Well, the highlight, I think, of the career was that trip to Cairo or to Egypt, where flying around there, I mean, we got to fly around the pyramids at 200 feet, but the Egypt thing was probably the highlight, positive. The negative one was flying, if you call it, flying into North Vietnam trying to rescue this guy, and all they told us was, well, he's on the west side of the hill, and the east side of the hill was on fire, and apparently that was National East Side of the Hill Fire Burning Day, because there were significant numbers. We got down to about 100 feet flying around a farmhouse, only realized there was a quad AAA battery on a truck parked next to the house.
Can you explain for the listeners what a quad AAA battery is? Because
quad is four 12.7 millimeter anti-aircraft machine guns. That's why it's a quad AAA anti-aircraft, and it's used quite a bit for shooting aircraft down that are at low altitude. So they're just slinging bullets up there, and eventually, if you get hit enough, something's going to go out. But
no one was manning this anti-aircraft gun. You guys just get by.
The time that we went in there and we're flying around trying to pick this guy up, it was not manned. It was just parked there. Now, I don't know whether there were people in that farmhouse at the time or not, but the A1s or SPADs, as we used to call them, they provided SAR, search and rescue. They were the a plane guard, if you want to call it that. Anybody shot at us, they could immediately detect where it is and go in there and shoot back. But for some reason, we did not get shot at. I don't know why. We finally had to leave because I didn't want to run out of gas. You know, spend an hour and a half in there. And that was about it.
So you talk about your normal day to day in Vietnam being pretty boring, just flying over the ocean. Do you have any idea why they were asking you guys to, go embark on those missions?
Well, the Air Force was primarily the search and rescue operation for all of Vietnam. And they flew out of, I believe it was Thailand, Udon, or a couple of other places. And they flew HH-3s, which they were a little bit different than the SH-3 that we flew, because the crew member had a much better opportunity to pick somebody up. And they were trained to do that.
So do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to say? Wrap up any parts of Vietnam, or talk about, how it made you feel?
I was glad to have done my 3 years, 3.5 years in the regular squadron. When I got extended for a year, they had an offer. They came out with, he said, "You want to do this?" And that was back when one of the Navy had HAL 3, which was a Huey gunship squadron based in South Vietnam, mostly off LSTs that did work with the South Vietnamese to combat the Viet Cong. And for one reason or another, I really don't like getting shot at. It has unfortunately, I don't have non-armor piercing skin. So I elected to finish off my Navy career, active Navy, and stay involved.
Can you speak a little bit about the death of your friend Dennis? Did that have any impact on your life?
When he was shot down and killed, it was a very trying experience because we had to pick up all of his items in the room and send them back to his wife, who was then a widow. And she was about 8 months pregnant, 7 or 8 months pregnant, and delivered a child subsequent to that, who she named Denise. So, yeah, it moves you, and it makes you wonder why in the world we were doing a lot of that stuff. It didn't seem to accomplish anything. The subsequent to that, when they had the huge attack in South Vietnam, where the North Vietnamese Army and the Viet Cong were pretty much wiped out, and there was a news broadcaster, Walter Cronkite, that said the war is lost. Well, actually, it turned out the war was won because the North Vietnamese had nothing left. So we didn't know about that until later. So that was the extent of my Vietnam experience.